Hello everyone and welcome back to another exciting edition of Boyographic, the show in which I, Matt the Gameboy, take you through the highs and lows of the Game Boy library, one card at a time. This week we'll be looking at a curious title. It's Popeye 2. Sequels are by definition more of the same. It is something that continues a theme or a story of an earlier produced work. In games, you see a sequel and expect it to be the same mould as its predecessor, but with improved mechanics or a new spin on tried and true gameplay. R-Type 2 is, for example, a shooter, as one would generally expect. It's very rare that a game takes up a number 2 that isn't what you were expecting, which is what makes Popeye Part Deuce all the more surprising. For starters, calling this game Popeye 2 the world over is almost a misstep in itself. Sigma Games' original Popeye title, which is a half-decent maze game that you can check out on Boyographic episode 30, wasn't even released outside of Japan. Usually this would see the game simply drop the numeral and come out only as Popeye. But what's even stranger is that this didn't happen when Popeye 2 is almost a completely different game. You see, Popeye 2 is actually a platformer. Sure, there are some sprite reuses between this game and its maze game predecessor, and yes, it's still by the same team. But it really takes some balls to decree to the world, yes, this is a sequel to our first effort, and it is clearly something completely different. So, the concept is simple enough. Olive Oil discovers a treasure map and Popeye sets off with the gang in search of adventure. Or at least he'd like to, as mid-voyage Popeye's ship is attacked by Pluto, or Brutus as he's called here, as, well, that's his original name. So it's up to Popeye not only to save everybody, but hopefully unearth some treasure along the way. As platformers go, Popeye 2 is pretty competent. The game sees you traverse 4 worlds that follow a strict 4-stage per world criteria, 2 stages of platforming, a 3rd tougher stage of platforming culminating in a boss fight, then the 4th bonus level that allows the player to stock up on collectibles and health. As you might imagine, the health in this game is indicated by Popeye's favourite food, spinach. Interestingly, the amount of spinach Popeye eats also indicates how large his freakishly fit forearm is. By eating a lot of spinach, Popeye's arm will increase in size, just like in the cartoon. Not only increasing his punch power, but also its range. At a full health bar, Popeye can even throw cans of spinach at enemies for a powerful ranged attack that even works against most of the game's bosses. But you're probably not going to stay at full health for long, as despite cans of leafy greens being plentifully hidden in blocks around the levels, the game can be a bit of a bastard in its difficulty in places. Enemies can attack you from off-screen, there are a few blind jumps to overcome, and even more annoying, sometimes with no visual indication whatsoever, the foe can simply drop out of the level, meaning you need to be quick on the jump button to get yourself out of danger. Scattered throughout the levels are also small orbs to collect, and naturally gathering 100 will result in an extra life. While you should rack up a lot of these simply by playing before you get into the later trickier levels, it's worth noting that this game doesn't have unlimited continues. You only get 5, meaning if you don't figure out that you can hold B to jump higher on ropes in level 3 stage 2, you're going to meet a game over screen pretty quickly. Proportionately, the sprites of both enemies and Popeye seem very well scaled to the Game Boy, and to Sigma's credit, the enemies that populate the levels are very varied and interesting. However, these levels themselves can be pretty bland. Don't get me wrong, Popeye isn't a bad game mechanically, but with little variety in the gameplay, getting to the door at the end of the stage starts to feel like a chore pretty fast, even in a game that's got a playtime of around 30 minutes, which can't be a good thing. It doesn't help that some of the later levels are a little bit confusing in terms of how they flow, with multiple paths being offered that often lead to dead ends or bonus doors full of booty, which would be fine, except the player is constantly up against a strict timer, meaning death by running out of time can be a common occurrence in Popeye 2. You can, however, find a clock item that allows you to freeze both enemies and the clock, but doesn't really address the problem, and is in fact nowhere near as helpful as the extra spinach item you can pick up, that allows you to refill your health instantly and is a seriously nice touch. As for the game's boss fights, well, there's not really a lot going on, either visually or mechanically. For starters, all except Brutus are pretty big what the fucks in terms of what they are. A giant penguin, the ghost of a ship's masthead, a dinosaur? They're all completely random. I mean, Super Mario Land 2's bosses don't make sense either, but that's not a video game based off a comic strip spanning over 80 years by this point. Make it a pirate or something, not just a random for random's sake boss encounter. Mechanically, they don't really offer anything either, just a little bit of pattern memory and a whole lot of spinach steroid-induced smackdowns in order to take them out. What else is there to say? Popeye 2 isn't the worst platform I've ever played, but it hardly captures the joy of its contemporaries. Games like DuckTales and Super Mario Land had been on the market for a while by the time this got its 1991 release, and by the time the game got to Europe in 1994, the Game Boy had already seen the wonders of games like Hammering Harry, Super Mario Land 2 and Trip World, making Popeye 2 feel incredibly dated by comparison. The game does feature a decent soundtrack, but beyond accompanying the player in-game with its upbeat nature and sometimes rocking grooves, is largely forgettable when you switch the title off. Popeye 2 is worth picking up if you see it in the wild and cheap, as it's not a terrible title by any means. I honestly encourage you to give it a look if you're curious, but on a platform so rich in platformers as the Game Boy, your time and money can be better spent elsewhere. And that brings us to the end of another Boyographic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed. Sorry my release schedule is being a bit sporadic lately. I'm very, very busy at work and I'm about to go on vacation, so I need to get a lot of stuff done. However, if you do like this video and would like to check out more of our content, why not subscribe and encourage other people you think might be interested to do so as well. You can also check out some more of our Boyographic videos if this is your first time watching, where I look at the highs and lows of the Game Boy library one cart at a time, generally every Friday. You can also check out some of our Boy Curious videos, where I look at bootlegs and oddities for both the original Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, and why not check out some of our All the Glory videos, where I upload long plays cutting out all of the deaths, leaving you with none of the faff, but all of the glory. Until next week, Game Boys and girls, please let me know what you're playing down in the comments below, and I will try my best to respond. Until then, game on.